In a single moment, everything can change. But at GBMC, you're never alone. With a compassionate care team and today's advanced technology, we face the toughest moments together. Every milestone reached, every bell rung. No matter what, GBMC is here for life's moments.
Welcome to the NoPixAfterDark podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Dante. We're here at GBMC today, and we're talking about a very important discussion today about supporting and advocating for victims of sexual assault and domestic violence and medical cold cases. And you know, I had to get the experts. I got to make sure when we talk some this very important, got to bring experts in and talk about how GBMC has evolved, okay? So we have Laura Clary, the Program Director in Sexual Assault Forensic Examination and Domestic Violence Program at GBMC. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And Dani Imbragulio,
Imbragulio.
the Safe and Domestic Violence Victim Advocacy Coordinator.
Yeah.
How are you ladies doing today?
We're doing great.
Good.
Exciting.
I always get nervous about saying the names. I was practicing it and I was like, I think I can do it.
My entire life problem.
Well, I think you guys are talking, take the time out your day about this very important topic. And, you know, when this subject came up, I was like, we had to talk about this. Because so many things are going on in the world right now. We just want to make sure that we're talking and getting experts their talk. Because everybody has opinions. As we know, social media is the doctor now, evidently.
Right.
And we want to make sure we talk to experts here. Because a lot of people who might be going through something like this or know family members who may have gone through something like this. So let's talk a little bit about what you guys do and talk about Dr. Breitnecker and about how he's all involved with you guys.
So Dr. Breitnecker was an amazing pathologist that worked here at GBMC back in the 1970s. And he was absolutely incredible because he had the foresight to think that collecting evidence from victims of sexual assault could potentially be used, in today. And back in the 70s and 80s, DNA wasn't a thing. But for some reason, he thought if I collect slides, if I collect biological evidence from victims that come into GBMC's emergency department, maybe in the future, we will be able to use those slides to get justice for some of these women seeking treatment here. And he really was a pioneer and really was the beginning of the GBMC sexual assault forensic examination program that we have here. Without him, I'm not sure that we would be sitting here today.
And when you came into this position today, when you heard that story, how blown away were you when you heard about his story and how he preserved so much DNA out there for?
Doing this work every day, it's incredible. It's incredible to see, too, how far we've came with technology and actually seeing the work that he did back then actually being used today to bring justice to survivors that something happened to them maybe 30 or 40 years ago. And what's really incredible is the fact that I got to meet Dr. Breitnecker and how down to earth he is and how amazing his family is and how proud he is and his family is of the work that he did. So it really hits me personally, knowing him, knowing the person that he was and how important he was to the work that we do today.
So how did GBMC become a central institution for response to sexual assault and domestic violence?
So
Baltimore County.
Yeah, it really started with Dr. Breitnecker.
Okay.
So he really was that pioneer in this work. And moving forward, we created partnerships with the Baltimore County Police Department so that we are the safe center for Baltimore County. So we built this program out, and over the years, it's just gotten bigger and bigger and expanded to reach more victims. And now we have 20 forensic nurse examiners that are available 24/7, 365 days a year to respond whenever a victim presents to the emergency department needing this specialized care.
And when you say about forensic technology has advanced, like as far as technology from then to now, what does that actually mean in practical terms for a cold case? Like, how would I know?
Yeah.
And break it down to somebody who I'm clueless. How does that work?
So again, cold cases, not necessarily thinking all the way back to the 70s, but cold cases are cases that, years ago, they went cold. They didn't have any leads or anything like that. But think about back in the 70s and you have victims coming in seeking treatment and they're collecting those slides. They had no idea that they were going to be able to be used. But forensic technology and being able to, test for DNA now, to be able to test for these DNA profiles that will link to a suspect or a perpetrator that created these heinous crimes. So over the years, forensic technology in our crime lab has been enhanced. And now they're able to use those slides that, again, DNA wasn't a thing. They're able to test those slides. They're able to put them into a CODA system, and they're able to link to really dangerous people that committed horrific crimes, again, years and years ago. And they've been linked to actually some serial rapists, and being able to allow those victims to know that this person is going to be held accountable for what they did to you years ago, I think is really incredible, and really incredible work that Baltimore County is doing.
Wow. And to this day, I mean, you have a number of how many cases that you guys have explored or found out? Like,
So I know there's over 2,000 slides. So, but Baltimore County tracks all of the results and tracks all of the information that's coming in, and then they utilize our program to be the notification program. So when they do get a hit on DNA, or if they need to reach out to a cold case survivor, they will utilize Dani or another member of our team who will be that person to make that difficult phone call to that survivor to reach out and let them know that something came back on their slide.
for someone's listening right now and they received care at GBMC in the early 70s, like 1977, 78, what does the journey first contact? Like, how does that journey work with support and like reaching out? Like, how did we reach out, or did they reach out? How's that happen to say, hey, I was assaulted during that time period? How's the whole journey start?
So we try to make sure that victims know and survivors know that they have complete control, that they are in control of what happens with their case. And we allow them to opt in so they can call us and say, hey, I was seen back there for this. We have a webpage that is specifically dedicated to this work. So it's gbmc.org/cold case. They can go to that website and find a whole bunch of information about how they can reach out to us. Or you might have the other end of the spectrum where someone will say, you know, I put this part of my life behind me, and I don't want to reopen those wounds. So I'd like to opt out and not be contacted, because it's all about giving that survivor that power and that control, that they can make decisions over what happens with their case and their care.
Wow, that's powerful. You're in Jeff Fenty?
Yeah, sure. It's important to remember the 77, 78, 80s, 90s. They didn't know that these slides were taken. So they did not request services the way that patients now coming in understand our forensic nursing team, our advocacy team. They know nothing about these slides existing. So we want to make sure, like Laura said, they're in complete control and they have the ability to say, yes, I want services, or no, I want absolutely nothing. Please don't do that. And we follow their lead 100%.
I guess the question would be I mean, from 1977, 78, I was born in 80, I'm telling my age now. You know, going back, have you seen people who have come back and say, hey, I was a part of, because that's a really traumatic experience to relive and go back in history again, and like in time where, like you say, it's blocked out. It's not, I don't want to think about it. What are some of the common things that survivors come back and say to you? Have you heard from them? Or if you've spoken to them, like, it's like from that far back?
Everything from, oh my gosh, I forgot that happened. I forgot the details. I thought everyone else forgot, to I buried it and I don't want to relive it. And it runs the gamut. It really does.
And then you have some survivors that haven't forgot. And, you know, they've been waiting for this moment. They've been waiting for something like this to happen.
So tell us about the service that brought it in the safe suite. Since we're talking, so we're going to come back here, safe suite. So we make the call, I come here, the safe suite. Explain that.
So we provide a lot of different services. So over the years, we've really grown and branched out because we've seen needs in our community. So we say that these crimes don't discriminate. So they can affect anybody, but not, you know, based on their age, based on race, socioeconomic status, gender. And so we said we really need to make sure we're capturing everyone in our community that needs us. So we provide services for victims of sexual assault and sexual abuse of all ages. So from birth till death. To kind of put that into perspective, our youngest patient was 6 months old and our oldest patient was 98. So we see everything in between. We see victims of human sex trafficking. We see victims of domestic violence, physical abuse, strangulation. So we've really tried to create a program where everyone that needs us can come in and seek free, and confidential treatment in a trauma-informed manner.
Say that one more time, that last part though.
Trauma-informed
And free.
and free
All right, because if I was like, I don't have
and
to show it.
confidential.
Yes, confidential. They're all important. I think what happens people say, I don't have insurance, I don't have money, I don't want to go for it, I don't have anything that And when you hear that, people are like confidentiality,
Yep.
free, that will entice somebody to come in. So I've never heard that until now. So thank you for sharing that. That's really so. Like, what's the process of coming in? Like, they want to come in. Is it like you fill out stuff, or like can anybody just walk and knock on the door and say, "Hey, I need to talk with you guys"? How does that work?
So they can come in a couple different ways. So sometimes the police are contacting us directly and saying, hey, we have someone here at police headquarters. Hey, we have someone here at the Child Advocacy Center. Can we bring them straight to you guys, which we'll coordinate with them? Or we might have someone who comes in by themselves or they come in with a support person and they make that step to walk through the doors of the GBMC emergency department. And our team is all trained on how to take care of these patients when they walk in and they become a priority. And when they step foot through that door, they are immediately triaged, and then our team is notified based on their need. So it might be they need the forensic nurse to come in because they need an exam. They need a domestic violence advocate because they need resources. They need safety planning. They need shelter. So based on that, they will call the appropriate member of our team that will respond in, immediately start working with that patient, bring them down to our private unit, separate them from the hustle and bustle of the crazy emergency department to have a really calming place that they can work with that patient.
Wow, I love that. So, Dani, you manage the domestic violence piece of this. What are the most common misconceptions people have about domestic violence that you wish you could correct?
The biggest is that the victim or the patient, since we're in the hospital, is to blame, or that they should know better, or that they should have had some type of plan already in place by the time they come to see us. It is never the victim's responsibility to not be assaulted, whether it's sexual assault, intimate partner violence, trafficking. So our job is to spread the awareness. That way we make sure it used to be 1 in 4 women were victims of domestic violence. Now it's 1 in 3 after COVID because they were locked in. The majority were with their abuser, and then it just kind of came out more. So that is the people that report. Imagine the people that don't. So we want to make sure that they know it is not their fault. We are here to assist. And then also the biggest misconception is they come in and society thinks they should leave immediately. The biggest part of my job is planning to stay in an unsafe situation in a safer manner. That way it takes time. It takes, safety planning processes. We don't ever write down a safety plan, but we walk through it. We discuss locations in the home that are more dangerous than others. We discuss the resources in the community. The average victim of domestic violence, it's an average of 7 attempts to flee before they can actually flee and stay away. So we start that process. We start talking about it. We make sure that they know, even if today isn't the day that they're leaving, they can come back. They can communicate with me. They can communicate with the county resources. We give them everything to let them know, again, they're in control, because in domestic violence relationships, that is what it is. It is power and control over another person. Chances are they haven't had that. So we want to make sure that they take the lead. And we're nothing but glorified Rolodexes. They are the only expert in their own relationship. So it is my job and my team's job to take the cues from them.
Well, and that stat you just broke down with COVID, 1 in 3, that's pretty alarming to hear that.
It says they were locked in. We did not leave our houses for a year and a half, 2 years. They were stuck. There was no reprieve. There was no them going to work, the abuser going to work, kids had to go to school. That was gone. So any of the time alone, the time to settle, that wasn't there. So it came out as the higher percentage. So 1 in 4 turned into 1 in 3.
Was it harder for the hospital or for you guys during COVID time with so many restrictions and whatnot? And then where do they go? You can't go anywhere. And so you're stuck in the house. So was it harder for you to adjust? What are some, saw a little off script, but like, how did you guys adjust to COVID? Because before, how did you guys adjust to the new world?
It was It was honestly, it was a very eerie calmness when everything shut down, because we weren't seeing kids, we weren't seeing as many victims, and it wasn't because that the abuse and assault stopped. It was because we knew people were trapped at home. Kids were trapped at home with their abusers. Domestic violence victims were trapped at home with their abusive partner. So we knew that it wasn't that these crimes stopped. It was just that people weren't able to safely get to us. So we tried to create different protocols so that people could still get to the hospital, still knew that we were here. We did PSAs with our media team to say, hey, we are still here 24/7. And then we changed our processes. So we had a direct to safe process where patients could come directly into this unit and bypass our emergency department, because the ED, the emergency department, was a very scary place for people. It was very scary, and people would pull up to the emergency department, see the tents, see people in all of the, all of the equipment that they were wearing, and it was scary. So trying to create a process where we can say, hey, you can safely come into our private unit, bypass the emergency department, and still seek treatment was something that we tried to really put out to the public to let them know that we were still available. But COVID was a very scary time for us in this world, knowing that there were people that weren't able to get to us.
Thank you for sharing, because I was always wondering. I know with so many different things that happen in the world, people want to change the way they do things. And you had to be like, all right, let's think outside the box. And some of those policies probably have some of those things now. If you guys implemented that now, we're not ever going back how we did it in the past.
Yeah.
Now we're going forward.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes things like that happening for a good reason. Now we can be more efficient.
Yep, we definitely learned. We definitely were able to change some processes. So, I mean, while COVID was absolutely awful, we did learn a lot from it, from different changes we made.
Would you say you guys are ready for, say, for instance, if another, knock on wood, outbreak comes out? I don't know. But if another outbreak does it, are you better prepared to go for any domestic violence survivors and like that going forward? You're ready to rock and roll this time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I think we're so fluid. Change is inevitable in every situation. We'll figure it out no matter what struggle pops up. We have no problem brainstorming. And
So are there warning signs friends and family members should know about that might indicate someone they love is in an unsafe situation?
so when it comes to the warning signs, I tell people you're not always going to see them. Abusers get victims enthralled into that relationship for a reason. What you may see is the isolation, the pulling back from friends and family in a slow process, or it might be immediate. It's that love bombing, which we're trying to teach the younger generation now, that it is important to miss your partner. So when it is all encompassing,
So what is love bombing?
so love bombing.
I don't know. So that's what I'm
So there's a little bit of that honeymoon phase in every relationship. You start dating someone, you get in this relationship, and it's just the bubble of you and them. And to a point, it's normal. The honeymoon phase, everything is great. They're the best person I've ever met. It is when it becomes slightly possessive that most people tend to see something's not right. So it is the, I'm so sorry, I got mad and yelled, but you leaving me, it can't happen. I can't live without you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. It's those, their actions are being basically told as to why the abuser was aggressive. I love you so much that I couldn't bear to have you leave me. If I can't have you, nobody can. Those types of things. You have a male coworker, so all of a sudden your new partner starts walking you to your cubicle and picks you up from your cubicle every day. Stuff like that most people will think is, oh, it's romantic.
right.
It's sweet. It's so new to me. When in reality, on the outside, it's a little possessive. And then I also see it happens all the time. Dani, I should have known better. I grew up in an abusive household. But if you're thinking of it in terms of that, we have the cycle of abuse. That's that honeymoon phase. It starts out, and then you have kind of the calmness, then it's tension building, then it's the violent eruption. Well, by the time kids came around growing up, you didn't need the honeymoon phase. You didn't need the calmness. You've only lived in tension building and abuse. So in reality, people think they're getting the exact opposite of that relationship. but they just weren't there in the beginning to see that cycle. So it's our job to make sure that they know this is not anything that is their fault. This is strictly the abuser's fault. And it's our job to let them know you should not be held accountable or responsible for something that was done to you. We need to make sure that person's held accountable.
Do you ever see the cycle where somebody has grown up seeing their mom or dad or where maybe in the family being domestically violence, and they're accustomed to that way, just being passed down generational, and they're used to it. So to them, that's just
That
normal.
is what love is.
That's what love is. How do you see that? How do you help work with that people who go through that?
We see that a lot. And that is a very long process. That is more when long-term agency case management and therapeutic resources are going to get involved, because that is their childhood. That is what they know. That is what they expect love to look like and be. And anything under that intense, aggressive passion isn't a relationship. It is not what love is. So we know that if they're seeing us, they're usually directly in the crisis, they're in the assault. They're not at the point that we can start breaking that down. That is a long-term therapeutic resource that where you just let them know no one deserves to be hurt. No one should be hurt in their home and in their relationship by anybody else. It's not the normal, but it is their normal.
Right. And we know with kids that there has actually been studies done where they looked at kids' brains, kids that grow up in home where domestic violence is prevalent, and they would show them pictures of people that were happy, people that were angry, and they would look at how their brain reacted. And they found that kids that grow up in homes where DV is prevalent, they have the same reaction that combat veterans when they come back from war. Because these kids never feel safe in that house. They're always waiting for that next explosive situation to happen, and they're always being triggered by things. Maybe it's the garage door opening, or maybe it's that telephone call knowing that that abusive person is coming home. So these kids are always on edge, and that has a profound effect on them for the rest of their life. So we talk about this all the time, this cycle, and kids that grow up in those households, are more likely to be abused into adulthood, and sometimes are more likely to become abusers as well.
Wow, I didn't know that. And so thank you for sharing the information. Wow. You work with people, some of them have the worst days of their lives. What gives you hope in the line of work?
So we get this question all the time. Why do you do this work? So one of the things I always say is, like, what if there was nobody here to do this work? What if when a victim walks through the doors of this hospital and there's no one here that can help them? And knowing that we're providing such a special service, understanding, yes, it's a difficult work, but it is so incredibly rewarding. It is so rewarding to interact with that patient when you're first meeting them, and then see how they transform even in just the few hours that you spend with them, and how they walk out a different person than when they walked through those doors. That's what gives me hope, is seeing our patients transform, seeing them start to heal, and knowing that we are playing a part in helping them get on the road to recovery, and knowing that we have a very unique role in that work.
Absolutely. And then the other side of it is we get to do a lot in the community. So when people want us to talk with them and want to learn about it and it's not taboo, that's truly such a step forward in helping those who truly are going through the worst day of their life. Because when they come to us, whether it's police, whether we do high schools, we speak to churches, who at podcasts, people are hearing it and they're putting the information out there. So we are making sure people who may never have heard of GBMC, they're not local to this hospital, they know that there is someone, there are people, there are teams that are here, they want to help, and that the community is not going to be put off by sexual assault, domestic violence. There's resources. Because the majority in the community, it's because, oh no, that's too hard of a conversation to have. So they're not going to have it because they don't want to make the person listening feel uncomfortable. So the more we can put it out there, that's also a huge.
And one question, and it involves you two. Who's there for you guys at the end of the day?
I think so this work being so unique, we always say like we're there for each other. So we have an incredible team. And I say we call it a team, but we're more like a really crazy family. And we got to be a little bit crazy to work in this line of work. And we really support each other. I know that if I have a really difficult shift, I can pick up the phone and I have a ton of people on my team that I can call and say, hey, can we just talk through this? And I think team building and resiliency trainings are really important. It's something that I'm very passionate about. So even today, we're going out for a team building happy hour after work, just to spend some time outside the walls of the hospital with each other. And, we do, the hospital even gives us funds that we can put on team building activities throughout the year. We meet once a month to have dinner together, our whole team, and talk, debrief about cases. And again, I think too, personally, everyone that works, even in nursing in general, is a tough profession. To have something that you enjoy outside of this of work, something that you're passionate about outside of work. So I have kids, and they're really involved in baseball, and baseball, sitting on the sideline on baseball field is my happy place.
Okay.
And that's something I look forward to. So, and it's raining this weekend. I said, what am I going to do? I don't have baseball this weekend. So I'll have to find something else to occupy my time. But really making sure that we take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others.
Yeah, I always ask you, what's therapeutic for you and just to get away? What about yourself?
I'm a shopper.
I love that.
Well, yeah, so I'm a uh, state sales, yard sales, thrift stores. I love digging through stuff. And then also when it's not a state sales and they're full price. And yes, I spend way too much money.
No, but we always hear
Yeah.
the work that you do, but nobody asks, how are you? What are you doing? How are you getting feeling? And we always want to know, like, the flip side. You have these stories every day. How do you get through the day? How do you make it through? I always tell people, I like to grill. That's just my piece. That's I don't want to bother. Anybody bothers me, just let me be.
Yeah.
And so I always try, you're in a heavy career and heavy situations going on. How do you release? And hopefully, along the year, GBMC helps out with the team building. That's very positive. And that's one great thing about GBMC. I've heard throughout all the interviews I've done, how they are about their people and how about their employees and how beautiful that is. So that's one thing that people really need hearing. Thank you. What are some of your last thoughts you want to give people before we walk away?
I think my last thought is I know that these are difficult topics that we're talking about, but having these conversations is so important. I think the younger you can start having these conversations about educating about healthy friendships and consent. And I think the earlier that we can start talking to children and having difficult conversations is going to move that arrow a little bit more towards prevention. And our previous CEO of GBMC, Dr. Chisar, always used to say, education and awareness is the key to prevention. And that's why, like Dani said, going out into the community, having these conversations and talking to people face to face, I think is really important. And knowing survivors know that there's always a place here for you at GBMC, a safe place to seek treatment.
Absolutely second that. We're here. We spend so much time just talking on the phone to people calling in because they don't know if they want to come in. They don't know if it qualifies for an exam. We will talk them through. And even if it's not something that they need medical treatment for, we go over all the resources. I think I've spent more time with some people on the phone than I have in person. Uh, we just want them to know that there are people here that want to listen and want to help.
Where can we go on a website? If somebody's watching today or listening, where can they go? Where can they call? I'll let you guys take that.
So if you're looking for general safe services or domestic violence services, you can go to gbmc.org/safe-dv. And there is a ton of resources on that website. If you are specifically looking for cold case information, if you were seen back here in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you can go to gbmc.org/cold case. And there's a lot of information about how to directly get in contact with us.
And then on the original website, there is a place for form stacks for requesting any type of community training and outreach.
Folks, heard of an expert today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right. Laura, peace, singer out.